Hey everybody, welcome to day number 4 of Utah RemoteCon 2020. Can you believe it? Here we are, it's Thursday already, and we've got another great slate of panels for you tonight, starting with this one, with great responsibility, understanding the role. This is going to be awesome. I've seen some of the stuff that's coming out in this panel, and it's going to be good. But before we bring the panelists on, let's go ahead and take a look at the prizes that we are raffling off tonight during this panel. At the end of this panel, we've got some great prizes, especially if you're into like Funko Pops and Avengers. It's pretty sweet. Look at this. We've got a great Avengers Funko Pop, Thor from the Gamerverse. So I'm guessing this is from one of the Avengers games. You can tell I'm a really heavy gamer. We've got some Ninja Turtle stuff going on and Twisted Sugar gift card for $5. If you are interested in these prizes, if you would like to win them, you're just going to need to buy some raffle tickets. And to do that, you've got to go to givebutter.com, Utah RemoteCon 2020. That's where you can buy the raffle tickets, get your name entered by the end of this show so you can win these great prizes. If you'd like to just make a donation, you can do that as well. Again, just givebutter.com/Utah RemoteCon 2020, and you'll be able to do that. Let's go ahead and bring our panelists on here. I'm going to bring our moderator on first, Patrick. Patrick, how's it going?
What is up? What am I doing here? I want to go win those toys and get in raffles.
Then do it, man.
I shouldn't be doing anything here.
Utah RemoteCon 2020.
Oh my goodness.
Absolutely.
Look at all of these beautiful people. This is amazing. I'm so excited to be hosting, to moderate this panel with great power, understanding the responsibility of the role. So I'm just going to kind of list off everybody, introduce all of us, and then we're just going to do one big round of applause so we can get to the meat of this, right? All right. She is 1/3 of Cutscenes and Cupcakes, the podcast, and a reluctant nerd, but has now come to love it. It's Stephanie Lisman. How's it going?
Hello. Glad to be here.
And he is a blogger and cosplayer and can also be found as a games judge at Dr. Volt's Comic Convention. He is the action figure guru, Robert Neal.
Howdy. Thanks for having me.
Yes. He is a co-host of Multiplane Podcast and special effects makeup artist. Welcome, Tyler Russell. Woo!
Hello.
Yeah. We got Tracy Mangum. He is a co-host of Movies That Make Us with the Bachelors. Oh, I was thinking it was saying Bachelors, but I thought it was more like badass. So what's that? In film production and has been tackling film for over 10 years. It's Tracy Mangum. What's up?
Hi, good evening.
Oh, man. And as always, we have Jake Dietz behind the scenes making all of this possible with his magic fingers. Thank you so much. 2 people that we need to call out that we're going to be a part of this that you've probably seen on the list. Collin Farmer and Valerie Cameron, both part of the Movies That Make Us podcast. They both have their own things that they're having to work on today, and we wish them well, hope that they're safe and things are going well. And again, make sure to go and donate in the description. Go click the link. Take care of that. Now, I've thought about this topic for a couple years now, and I'm so excited to discuss it with all of you guys. Before we do, though, here's a brief video for the fans at home right now that might need a better idea of what we mean by with great power in a superhero role. Jake, roll it.
Oh my God! Are you my Wonder Girl?
These are the Justice League.
Are you my Wonder Girl?
Wow, the Justice kids. What's your name?
I am Loki of Asgard.
Do you need a hand?
Yeah.
We got your back if you do.
I'm right here with you, man.
Do you know which way is the hospital? Okay. Thank you very much.
Pleasure to meet you. I have another bionics expert on hand, so I thought I'd drop by.
Ah, look at that, Dan. It's a marriage of robotic technologies.
You have created.
Pal, you're a hero. What you did was so brave, so selfless. Your sister is so lucky to have you as a big brother.
Hey Eli, it's Mark Hamill. I sure wish I could meet you in person instead of sending you this message, but I couldn't believe the story they told me about what a great young man you are.
Don Boyega visiting some fans at the Royal London Hospital.
We met because he loved Deadpool. In a certain sense, he was Deadpool, or at least everything Deadpool aspires to be.
What's your name, Noah? I'm Spider-Man. How you doing?
To a certain degree, it's a humbling experience because you're like, this can't mean that much to them, you know. But seeing how the world has taken us on, seeing how the movement and how it's taken on a life of its own, I realized that they anticipated something great.
All right, everybody got tissues. Wipe them off. We're good.
Well done.
We're good. Thank you.
Oh, for real.
I felt the best way to do it was to show everybody first what we mean by this. A role can mean so many things for an actor. It can mean a meal, because very often they're not given the opportunities and it takes a long time to get to that point. And for some, it means a little more. You have Daniel Day-Lewis doing method acting with some of his roles. You have all kinds of different experiences with different actors. But when it comes to a superhero role, or perhaps any archetypal hero role, if you're looking at Jack Sparrow, if you're looking at Luke Skywalker, there is a weight to that character that transfers over to that actor in real life. And so I wanted to talk about that and first ask our panelists, and we'll start with Steph, why do we expect an actor to behave like their superhero in real life?
I think we want to see the goodness that we see in the movies come out in the goodness of a character of a person. I don't think that always correlates, but it's really wholesome, and it makes you feel good when you see it do come through. And like, as we saw in that video, it does happen. And that's such a good thing. We need we need that stuff, especially right now.
Absolutely. I'll leave it to everybody to jump in now. Anybody, whatever thoughts you have about that question.
I'll just follow up with what Steph said and agree that we want to see the best in people. And when we see our heroes from childhood and onto adulthood on the screen, and then we see the actor, we kind of associate the hero's actions with the actor. We expect them to kind of act accordingly or behave accordingly. And we just, when we see that, it just kind of reinforces there is still good in the world.
Well, and I think of Charles Barkley years ago when he was playing in the NBA, and he was like, I'm no role model. You shouldn't look up to me. I'm just an athlete. And I get that. But at the same time, especially when you're playing a hero character, I feel like there's a higher level of responsibility, because as we've seen, kids really respond emotionally to what they see on the screen. And it's kind of important to live up to that, I think.
I'm not going to lie. I'm being from the Disney podcast. The thing that just keeps replaying in my head is I'm glad that there's people like this, because I think of Incredibles and I'm like thinking of Mr. Incredible and how he totally disses the kid who looks up to him. And I'm like, I'm so glad we have the good people in the world who are willing to go out and do this. That's if I were to ever have any kind of a role like that, I would be exactly going to every hospital, kids' home. Like, I would be the first on that boat.
Absolutely. No, it's one of those things that when you watch stuff like that clip, it tugs at your heartstrings, because you know how important it is to the kid, mainly. That's like looking up and cannot separate the character from the actor. And I think in a lot of ways the actors realize this, that in many cases, even if it's a 40-year-old some other that walks around in his bathrobe all day, they still can't separate the actor from the character in a lot of senses. And when you do something that maybe goes against what your character stands for, there is a little sense of disjarring when you're looking at that actor. And it's not just charity as far as like going to different hospitals. There's actually doing like stuff that just inherently seems like Tony Stark, like his investing into energy with environmental stuff, or Chris Evans just going to bat against Nazis on Twitter, like things that are like you're so close to this character, it's ridiculous. But though it's important, does the actor really have the responsibility to exemplify the role if they're taking it on as just a role itself? I mean, we do see that from a lot of Marvel, DC characters, but is that something that they absolutely have to do? Tracy, what do you think?
I think it comes with the territory now. I don't think in the age of social media, it's hard to get away with stuff. I mean, anywhere they go, they're going to be photographed. They're going to have their video taken, and it's going to be broadcast all over the country. So, especially if you're taking on one of these type of roles, And even when you do it when the camera's not looking, if I could really quickly, when Chris Evans came to Fan X a few years ago, he delayed his panel in the main room because he was backstage with kids that were not necessarily Make-A-Wish, but kids that had been through a lot, kids that had been to burn camp, kids that had some real heavy diseases, were fighting cancer. And he delayed his panel and told the administration of the con, he's like, these kids need me right now and those people can wait. To me, that was extraordinary.
Absolutely. Anybody else?
I remember when Chris Evans was here too, he also at the panel said a lot of people were telling him how small he looked compared to when he was Captain America. And so I think that can kind of be like should he exemplify that, and how it can sometimes be hard when he doesn't feel like he does exemplify that. So there is like this idea where you should, but if you don't meet people's expectations, that's also a really hard thing for these actors. Yeah. I mean, they're working their butts off to do it, but sometimes, I mean, everyone's human.
I was going to say, at the end of the day, they are human. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I kind of think, though, if you're going, especially Marvel nowadays, if you're going into a major franchise where your face is going to be blasted everywhere as this hero, and it's going to become super recognizable, I think it kind of comes with, the gig.
Yeah.
You're about to become the next major superhero in the Avengers or whatnot. I think it comes with the role that, okay, you're going to have to accept the responsibility that people outside of this film are going to look at you hopefully positively in a different way, not just as an actor.
I would also argue that some actors do it even before they take on whatever that iconic role might be. Chadwick Boseman, since we've been talking about him, his roles as like Thurgood Marshall and Jackie Robinson and James Brown even. One of the things that he has mentioned or had mentioned in interviews was that he was trying to show young Black children and other children of color positive role models, and he did not take certain roles because it was stereotypical and just a thug, a pimp, whatever, and not wanting to just continue that stereotype, but rather to elevate what kids could want to be and could see on the screen. And looking at what he did, not only from that, but also through his cancer treatment that nobody knew about. Right. Going to hospitals, talking to kids, and just being present. And not necessarily being T'Challa, but just being present, being there, and being a friend for whatever amount of time he had to be there with them. I mean, that is exemplifying that kind of role.
Mm-hmm. And Chadwick Boseman's importance, it cannot be overstated, especially when it comes to the fact that Black Panther wasn't just a superhero. This was a cultural milestone when it comes to inclusion, when it comes to any kid that can look up on a screen and see themselves. And he had a lot of responsibility that he understood. If you saw, like seeing in that clip, he understood that they needed something great, and he was willing to take that on, which is, I think, if anybody is like the number one for like just expanding and glorifying their role, it's Chadwick Boseman.
It seems interesting to me that we're all talking about Marvel characters, and DC characters don't seem to fit in with this mold of.
I think they do, though, because there's very different, I guess, marketing. The weird thing is that we're gonna have to awkwardly talk about is all of this at the end is marketed by the companies. So there's a little bit of like the studio is getting you to go and do stuff like that. I know that when it comes to Warner Brothers and DC, they did do a lot of Omaze stuff. Star Wars did a lot of Omaze things as well. And they're mentioned in certain things as well. But you bring up a great point with DC, because I wanted to bring up one particular actor that I feel did do this, but maybe over-justified some of his actions. And I'm talking about the rumors kind of around Jared Leto's on-set Joker and the things he was doing to get into character. I think that's kind of the opposite side of this coin of saying you have to inhabit a character. But what were you going to say with that stuff?
Oh, I'm not a big Jared Leto fan in general, but it is sad because like you see characters like Loki or even oh gosh, the dude that plays Thanos from Goonies,
Josh Brolin.
Thank you. They're not over here doing like dumb shit. Like they're not being in capturing that villain. And I mean, Joker is a hard role to play. Heath Ledger obviously had his demons with it. Jack Nicholson had his issues with it. Is that the right actor?
Yeah.
Okay. And so, I mean, it is a dark role. And I think DC has really dark stories in it. But that doesn't mean you have to go to that level either.
Yeah, and part of it was a lot of DC, they saw Christopher Nolan's trilogy where they made it more realistic and gritty and dark. And DC kind of looked at that and said, that's our formula for making money. So for a while, that's how most of their movies were. And then Snyder came along, and Snyder was trying to deconstruct heroes. He wasn't looking to promote heroes. So I think that that's starting to change with Shazam. You're getting Wonder Woman, even Aquaman, I think made some inroads there. So I think DC's coming along, but they've been late to the party for sure. Marvel is way far ahead of them.
Hey, we're working on it, guys. Okay, come on.
I know.
You can love both. You can love both.
I think. Is it okay if I throw up Erica's comment over here?
Please do.
So is talking about Christian Bale visiting the shooting, the victims of the Batman shooting in Colorado in 2012. Which is an awesome example. But I also think Christian Bale's a little controversial because he has that video of him like chewing out a guy backstage as well.
Yes.
That
was his character for John Connor. No, whatever he was trying to do.
It was, yeah.
Yeah. Do we think it's dangerous in some cases, like with say the Joker character? This is a dark character that a lot of people have had the chance to take it, but also kind of run with darker thoughts that the method acting can't help but influence in that. Is there more of a line drawn in the sand when it comes to those kind of roles and what you should be inhabiting?
I think you got to be careful. You've got to, I mean, I understand method acting, but at the end of the day, to me, if you can't separate yourself from the character, then that is not a healthy headspace to be in for a long period of time. So, I mean, I think Steph, you mentioned Loki. He's a very evil character in a lot of ways. I mean, he got a better character arc later, but I never got the sense that Tom Hiddleston was a jerk. Jared Leto was like sending dead rats to Margot Robbie and condoms, and it's like, dude, there's just no reason for that.
There's a lot of stuff that like ended up being a lot of rumors came out along with a lot of whatever turns out to be factual or not, which funny enough ends up being kind of what the Joker's like. You really never know the origin or what actually went down with that. I don't know how he ended up doing that. It's not cool, but it's very interesting dynamic when you look at heroes versus villains when it comes to inhabiting the characters. But you do have your anti-heroes. You have Deadpool, who is an inspiration to kids regardless of what his rating is in the theaters. What do you guys think about that? That's an interesting dynamic to be a role model for kids growing up, but it's the role model that maybe your parents wouldn't pick for you.
I love Birds of Prey. Margot Robbie is definitely, I mean, Harley Quinn's an anti-hero. She's such a badass anti-hero. And although she might not be like family friendly, the way that she took control of Harley Quinn's character, made her own movie, she was so involved in the creation of it. Like that's definitely like a feminist hero that like young girls should look up to. Like there wasn't the role she wanted. She didn't love Justice League and what that did, or not Justice League, Suicide Squad. And so she's like, I'm going to do this myself, and we're going to bring in badass women and make this awesome. And it didn't get the acclaim I thought it deserved, but it's so good.
And no more booty shorts.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of really subtle things.
She's actually dressed, and it's incredible.
One of the girls pulls up their hair in a ponytail, which is all girls like frustrating. Like who fights with their hair? That
scene was great.
Everywhere.
Oh man! And there's more and more inclusive roles that are coming with like Shang-Chi. We've got we had Aquaman, and we're going to be having. Hopefully, Cyborg is kind of rumored to be in the Flash still.
We got Black Adam's coming.
Black Adam's coming. What would you say to characters that maybe not? How do I word this? say like Anthony Mackie going into the role of Captain America. He is now taking over the role, but is he also taking over what Chris Evans' like off-screen actions are and exemplifying that as well?
I'll say that Anthony Mackie is not necessarily taking on his actions of Chris Evans, because Mackie is known for building houses in New Orleans for people who've lost homes. So he's already got that. He doesn't have, it's not as much press coverage when he does it as, say, Chris Evans or Chris Pratt when they're visiting kids in hospitals. But it's no less important to him to have that kind of outreach to people at just, a ground level. So I think that taking on the role, I think that I don't want to see him be Chris Evans Captain America, and I don't want to see him try to be Chris Evans outside of the role. I want to see him be Anthony Mackie doing what Anthony Mackie does with his outreach to the public.
You want to see the same new entity with, I guess, the same.
You want to call it legacy, like they would call it for DC, where somebody carries on the role after somebody's moved on, then great. But I don't think that it needs to be cookie cutter and be the exact same character or the exact same thing that Evans has done either in or out of the role.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. We before I sent you guys over this message asking you all about who your childhood heroes were, and I wanted to kind of jump into that with you all and start with Ty. We see your shirt. I think I know who it might be, but tell me how you were first introduced to this character and what he meant to you growing up and still means to you.
Well, I was introduced to Batman. I got the good stuff. I was really young during the 1990s when the animated series came out. And so that's what kind of got me first plugged into it. Then my mom introduced me to the Tim Burton films that were done, but more so the 1990s animated series. I think the thing that just drew me into Batman was that, and this is why everybody gives him trash talk, was that he was a superhero who didn't have superpowers. He had money, yeah, but like he was someone who focused on himself, trained his intellect and his body first, like something that you could actually do. And I think the situations that I was in as a kid, I was at home with a single parent, had some stuff going on in the background, and then seeing this person who came from hard circumstances and that basically improved themselves to fix it so that others didn't have to have that circumstance. That's what pulled me in. So to this day, Batman is still my hero.
That's awesome, man. And Robert, who did you have on your list?
I think I had Green Lantern and Cyclops from the X-Men. And I was an X-Men kid from very young age in the late 70s, middle and late 70s. And the X-Men just being different to begin with. They're not looked at as the Fantastic Four and the Avengers as the heroes that everybody wants to see. It's like, oh, those guys just showed up. Oh. That's great. But Cyclops is the guy who's like, okay, we're here to help. Whether these people want our help or not, we're going to do our best to help them or to keep whatever circumstance for befalling these people. And he's been written poorly through the years, horribly, in fact. But when he's written right, he's the guy who's like, he's the one that you're going to want going, I know what we need to do here. I can call this shot. I have the people behind me to work out the situation, and we're going to get this accomplished. And that was just one of the things that has constantly drawn me to him, despite the glorified Boy Scout moniker that he gets a lot. Or teacher's pet. That was the other one.
Yeah. Steph, what do you have?
I think I mentioned Wonder Woman. New 52 Wonder Woman, where she's kind of sick of everyone's crap and is just like, hey, let's get this done. But I also want to mention Faith, which I think is an Image Comics, who's a plus size superhero, like just amazing, doesn't care about anyone's like perception of her, just wants to go and do good things. And I think as a chubby girl, especially a chubby kid growing up, like that's what you want to see. You want to see not only you want to see diversity in your stories, you want to see yourself in these stories. And I think they're starting to do a better job about that, especially when it comes to movies.
Definitely.
You're.
Tracy?
Yeah, absolutely. So I wasn't really allowed comics growing up, so I'm not a big deep dive on the comics end. But I grew up in the 70s and early 80s, so I grew up on the Wonder Woman TV show, the reruns of the 66 Batman, and then I kind of gravitated towards Batman for a lot of the same reasons Ty did. Knowing that there's a ton of other characters out there. I mean, I even remember Lou Ferrigno as the Hulk. But there was always something about Batman that I really liked. And now and at the time I didn't really like Superman. I thought he was too simple. I thought it was too easy. But as I've grown older, I've gained a much deeper appreciation for Supes.
Very cool.
Can I just pull up go off on one thing that Steph said a minute ago, real quick?
Yes, please.
Going into the diversity, I mean, we have Faith, who's, is she leading the Valiant verse characters now? She's got a pretty solid role there.
Yeah.
But one of the other characters I liked growing up was Green Lantern, but I grew up with Hal Jordan, and it wasn't really until 2001 when they did the Justice League animated series on Cartoon Network that I got a Green Lantern in regular action who looked like me. And it was like, this is fantastic. This is great. And I mean, I am a huge Jon Stewart fan. Lantern, not comedian. You gotta make the distinction.
You do.
Victor, can you bring up
seeing what was that?
I can't, but Jake,
Steph, can you bring it? There we go. I just think this ties in nicely with what Robert was saying.
Yes.
My favorite hero is Mantis because he is a superhero in a wheelchair.
Yes.
Absolutely.
That's super.
Josh, thank you for that.
You want to be able to see yourself in these heroes and not just, you don't want to just see Superman. And you do, but you want to see others as well.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So I, for one, welcome our new diverse superhero overlords.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I want to know who yours are, Patrick, but I also think it's like we see with these movie releases, we saw with like Captain Marvel, like the controversy behind them. I think there's even controversy with Black Panther. These more diverse characters, there's controversy, but the people come out, even if they're not, they're not the best. People are going to come out for it because it's what the majority of us want.
Mm-hmm. It's that controversy that's
Jon Stewart.
But when it comes to like the controversy, that's a good point to step on here, because like at the end of the day, once you see how the actor is treating the character, that kind of quashes a lot of the huge naysayers, especially when it comes to, oh, well, I don't know if this film is going to be good or not. When you see the interactions that kids have with the actor, with the way that they're treating the character, you see the respect, and that makes that almost go away. Aside from I don't know, can we just say the horrible people that will insist on still not liking it no matter what?
Well, I don't remember. I don't know if you guys remember or if you saw it, but there was a clip of Jimmy Kimmel, and he had Chadwick Boseman. He had him behind a curtain, and people could come up to a poster of Black Panther and say what the character meant to them, and then he would come out from in front. And to have all these people talking about how important it was for their kids and for their sons and for themselves, and seeing that representation on screen and seeing how they reacted when he came out. I mean, they're like, my king, my king. It was just a beautiful thing to see. And it really reinforces how important it is, like Steph said and what Robert said, is to have representation on screen. It's absolutely crucial.
Mm-hmm. And to answer your question, Steph, my pick it's kind of a toss-up, Ty, because Batman I've grown up with, and everything that you described, I felt the same way when it came to growing up and watching the early Batmans in the animated series. But I think I'm gonna have to go with Luke Skywalker for mine. I know that is the archetype of hero, and he went on the original hero's journey. But I think when it came to my own personal life, I'm a child of divorce. So in a lot of cases, you do see some situations where, one side might be tugging on the other to say that one might not be as kind or the other, or you see different interactions. And honestly, seeing Darth Vader in that scope and seeing the dynamic between that, there's a lot to look at and look up to with Luke Skywalker as a character who really never gave up and consistently was there to be there for his friends, to do whatever it took to do the right thing. And he was dope in black clothing. Like, he looked great in that stuff. But I wanted to bring this up mainly, and Valerie's not here, so she can't attest to this, but I wanted to give a very weird example of meeting your heroes and kind of what happens with those expectations, maybe if they're a little bit too high, which they definitely might have been for me. So we were at the Comic-Con, Salt Lake Comic-Con, I believe it was 2 or 3 years ago when Mark Hamill was here. We had got a chance, me, Val, and a couple others had got a chance to do a photo op with him. It was right before The Last Jedi was about to come out, but we had seen trailers and we know about the lightsaber extend idea. So I brought a lightsaber with me, and I thought maybe I could trick him into telling me how the thing goes if I like act out the thing and see what he does, right? Or at least I thought he would pick up on what was going on, and like there would be some awesome, oh, let me take that, and does a cool move or something, hugs me, says that I'm his son. Anything that I was thinking. It was totally unrealistic. Live with me, I live with him, I adopts me. But we get behind the curtain, and I don't know if you guys have done these photo ops, but they show me in a very tiny area, and they're just kind of sitting there waiting like how you would go to visit Santa, except nobody else can see Santa. You have to go in on your own. And yeah, it's kind of terrifying when you think about it. So I get there, and I see Mark Hamill, and I'm nervous. I take the lightsaber out of the stupid satchel I brought because I wanted to be authentic, and handed it to him, and he just stared at me for what seemed like a lifetime, because everything felt like it had paused. And he just said, what do you want me to hold it or something? And before I could say anything, the mover was already moving us into position for the picture. So if you see the picture, it's just a look of shock and terror on my face, holding the lightsaber uncomfortably like it's a dead hawk's claw, like clutching the life. And
oh no!
I have to say, like, that painted the idea to me, not to never meet your heroes, but don't expect them to just be the hero when that shows up. And that's I don't know, you can see it in both cases, but does anybody have weird experiences like that? Have anyone actually met their hero, and what was the experience like? Tracy, I saw that hand.
He wasn't my hero, but my sister really loves Patrick Stewart, and when he came, she asked me to be part of the group photo with family, and we went, and he like didn't interact with people at all. He just kind of sat there, and then later she went and got an autograph. He wasn't even making eye contact with people when he was signing the autograph, so that was really disappointing. But on the opposite side of the spectrum, I got a picture with my brother who cosplays as Thor, so he's got the beard and the long hair. At the time, I did not have a beard, and I have no hair, and we got our picture with Jason Momoa. And I asked Jason Momoa if he would point at my bald head and laugh, and my brother would do the same thing. And Momoa was like, that's what you want? And I go, yeah. And he just started laughing. He's like, okay. And we take the picture, and it's great. Later, I want to get it signed because it's so great. And I took it back, and he was like, he looks at the photo, starts laughing, turns to his handler and says, give him his money back. I'm not charging him. I'm signing this for him for free. This might be my favorite picture I've done all day. And I'm like, I don't mind. And he's like, no, I insist. You're not paying for this one. And signed it to me, and we got to go. So that was really cool.
My cousin proposed at a Jason Momoa photo op, and you can see the excitement in Jason's face. And he was there. He told his handler, like, take more pictures, give him more pictures. Like, this needs to be captured. So I don't have negative, but that's Jason
awesome.
Momoa was bomb. And like his mom was there. He's like, Mom, you have to meet these people.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a friend who ran a booth, and he was just shopping with his mom.
So, yeah, I don't have any negatives for people I've met.
Tyler, you were about to say something.
Yeah, it's negative, but it's not negative.
It's okay. We can get negative and positive in here, because I just more want to talk about the experience and how funny our expectations are sometimes.
I was going to meet Ben Affleck because I'm going to get major hate for this, but I loved him as Batman. I did. Like I did. I loved him as Batman, and so I was so excited to meet him. I had all my gear. I even had a cowl that I was going to wear just with a plain T-shirt. And then he cancels, but he was canceling for the right reasons. He was working on himself. He had some stuff to resolve. So, like I said, it's negative, but not negative. So that was my one experience to meet one of my heroes. It's like, well, I was here, now it's gone. So,
well, hopefully you'll have another chance. I hear rumors. Oh no. Well, hey, we need to report. Robert has lost power, so he is not. I don't know if you guys saw him blip out. It's like Thanos snapped and half of us started disappearing. It was terrifying. I didn't know what was happening at first. Robert, we're keeping you in here. I don't know how we're keeping you involved though. I'm getting an action figure. Somebody go.
I think it can be hard.
This is Robert for now.
Yeah.
There you go.
You have those expectations on actors, and you do hear, like, when they're at a convention, you do kind of want them to be on their game. They're there to see the fans. They're getting paid to see their fans. But it is a different scenario if, like, you see someone in real life or in the wild. I don't know if they need to be on their game all the time if that were to happen. And I feel like that's a fair expectation of people.
Well, especially if they're like having dinner or out to a show. I mean, they're just living their lives.
You can freak out if you see Captain America. You can't go up and try to look for a shield. There's levels. There's levels. You know, there's levels of conduct. And I do understand in a lot of cases, some actors not really wanting to be out in the open if they're in a role because, you know, there's cases where just fans are crazy. But there's also cases where Ezra Miller's choke slamming fans. So you just don't know. There's tons of weird situations like this.
I was so bummed about that. I liked Ezra Miller.
Yeah,
I do too. That was hard.
And Ty, Alex wants you to know that you're not alone about Ben Affleck.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Alex.
Hey, well, here's the thing. I agree that Ben Affleck is our biggest and our brawliest. I don't think he had enough of him as a character for me to officially say he's the best, but I can definitely say he's the Batmaniest. Does that make sense?
I thought he also did good as a Bruce Wayne too.
He was the worst detective I've ever seen ever. He come on, man. If you're gonna go for his detective skills in that one, he didn't figure any of this out.
Well, he killed more people than any other Batman.
He's the branded bat. No, I'm just kidding. I really do. I watch that clip all the time.
I thought he was good. I thought he was good, but I felt I'm just not I don't like what Zack Snyder did with that whole universe.
Well, and it's weird because you see a dynamic shift with Superman specifically when it comes to the Christopher Reeve, where he's truth, justice, the American way. And I know we haven't seen, I guess you can say you haven't seen his final form when it comes to Superman and Justice League that's coming out. However, for the first two films ramping up, there was not a lot of, I guess you would say that like the bright shining Boy Scout positivity. There was more of a level progression going up, but Batman v Superman kind of kept it at that level, but still people looked at that symbol, which is where I'm going to segue into the thing that I feel is most inherent as to why we care and love about these characters and do expect the actors to do stuff is because of the creators of the characters. And we need to talk about Stan Lee right now and the influence that he had, what he was able to create, and really the fact that anybody that is doing these charity works that are going to hospitals dressed as these characters, they're doing it because they stand on the shoulders of a giant that is Stan Lee and what he was able to do for children and grown-ass men like us and grown-ass women. And yeah, it's insane. Please talk about Stan Lee. Have you guys met him? Anyone met him?
Oh, he's back! Sorry about that. I decided to have a power outage. It was great.
Robert Patrick put up a Batman action figure to replace you for a while.
I smacked that stuff out of there. We didn't
So
need
we
it.
wanted you represented.
Robert, we were just actually about to talk a little bit about Stan Lee and his influence with basically being the spearhead of all of this, right? The creator of the characters. What do you think his influence has on how we perceive these characters and the actors portraying them?
Well, from respect to the characters, he was looking for. I think he was looking for something that people could attach to or find a personal attachment to. Just high school kid who all of a sudden discovers after an accident that he's got superpowers, or it's like I get bitten by a spider. Unfortunately, I can't climb walls or swing through the city afterwards. But everybody has that high school experience of not being the cool kid, or being a little bit outside the norm. The X-Men being the same way, or having the pinnacle like Captain America of standing up for your neighbor, for what you believe in, and for the country's ideals. And I think that his influence is. He wanted people to have something to look up to, but to also go, I understand where this person who has become this hero is coming from.
Excellent. Any other thoughts? What do you guys think? Jump in.
I think almost all of these iconic heroes were created for a reason. I mean, Stan Lee was a Jewish immigrant kid who wanted to feel like he wasn't alone in the world, and Superman was out fighting Nazis as well as Captain America. These people were created to be more than just little comics. They're created to make a bigger difference. And I think that that's really important when you're looking at, I guess, then the actors that are chosen to portray them. And does that mean that they have more responsibility? It might. It's not. They're not created in a vacuum, and I guess these movies and these actors aren't in a vacuum either. So you do have to look past just it's just a role. It's just a movie.
Well, I think you need to point out too. Look at the age that he was at. He was still trying to come out here to Salt Lake to do all the panels and stuff, and trying to meet all of his fans. Like I felt that he himself knew that he had his responsibility as the creator to. Come to us on a personal level.
It was always thrilled.
His responsibility. I think that he actually reveled in being able to meet the people and just talk to people and hear what his legacy basically, and to just kind of be able to interact with people, because if you could tell when you saw him, the smiles on his face when he got to talk to people about characters, just the joy that he had. So I think that it was almost as important for him as it was for the people that he was meeting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I do believe he met all of these actors that were inhabiting at least MCU characters when he was executive producer. He had a lot more involvement, I suppose, in it. And I think that also, to Steph's point, that adds extra responsibility a little bit when it's the creator that's walking up. That's like, all right, you got it. And just kind of walks past, don't mess us up.
He lived up to it too. He was so fun. He was so fun at FanX.
Mm-hmm. Who's met him? Has anyone on here?
I saw his panel, but I didn't get the
chance.
Shoot, that's one that I think I will always regret not being able to see him yet. Yeah. Ugh. There's also Bob Kane. Do we need to address that?
I don't think so.
We'll just stick with Bill Finger, maybe. Yeah, give him the credit he needs.
Christopher Reeve. Let's stick with him.
Christopher Reeve, Superman. Yep. And like this has been happening for a long time. Like just these characters and these actors and the roles that they have.
I saw glimpses of the Christopher Reeve Superman in the original cut of Justice League in the second half. I'm like, okay, now we're starting to get that Superman. And I really hope we'll be able to bring that to the screen one of these days and get out from the muted colors and bring back what Supes really is about.
So, Tracy, going from that, what do you think about Brandon Routh in his portrayal of the continuation of Reeve Superman?
I thought it was okay. I wasn't a huge fan of Routh, but I thought that he did the best that he could. It didn't connect with me emotionally.
Okay, fair.
I met Routh at FanX, and I don't think he connected emotionally with me either. He was kind of
yeah. But I loved seeing him as the Kingdom Come Superman.
Yes.
That was awesome.
Do you think the Snyder cut will be any better as far as Superman's portrayal?
No, I think it's going to continue what It's going to go the opposite.
Historically, Snyder's done a really good job with Superman, so I'm sure it's going to be great.
I think
that is the best deadpan we've received.
Wow.
Sorry, guys. I'm really wanting the Snyder cut. Like, I might be the only person in the room here, but
it's kind of just one of those. Just show us. You know what I mean? We've all been so long. Just show us.
You made Jake leave, Ty.
Sorry.
I made Jake leave my comment. That's okay.
Well, I want to bring a good point up with the Snyder cut and the good that has done. We've seen bad. Let's all admit we've seen the tweets of the more crazy fan base, and then we've seen what the good has come from a crazy, horrible situation that happened with Zack Snyder's family.
Yes.
The fan bases have been able to come together to donate to things. This is Suicide Prevention Week, I believe.
It is.
And
today's Suicide Prevention Day.
Yes. Okay, so it's a good time to bring this up. Like with Zack Snyder, with what they were able to donate to suicide prevention, and with the passing of his daughter, there's something to that fan base that does feel like it is a family that they just want to support someone to see their creative vision through, which I think is beautiful. That's a really great thing.
I totally agree with that.
Guys, what a great panel. Like, I just loved sitting behind the scenes and listening to the conversation that went on. It was incredible. Steph, Tracy knows the pain of fighting with your hair all down and having to put it up in a ponytail. It's just the worst. But what a great panel. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for being here. We did do a drawing behind the scenes for someone who won. Let me show you guys again what we're talking about here, because it's pretty awesome. Pull it up. So here we go. We have an Avengers Funko Pop from the Gamerverse, Thor. We've got a Ninja Turtle thing. Looks pretty awesome.
Looks like a tiki.
It looks like a tiki.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. And then we've got a gift card, $5 gift card to Twisted Sugar. So what a great prize package. We did the drawing, and we'd like to congratulate our winner, Michael Murdoch. Congratulations, Michael. That is awesome. We're excited for you. Steph's going to tag you, and then you can reach out to her as far as delivery, making arrangements for that. Guys, we are coming down to the end of all of this, the Utah Remote Con. We've got one more panel tonight, Sharks, Monsters or Misunderstood. That's going to be awesome. We've got, and Tracy and Robert are going to be on that one. So you guys are
join us. Join us.
Ty's going to be back tomorrow with Disney parks and everything we love about Disney parks and Halloween, which there's a lot to love there. And Tracy, you're on that one too.
I am. I'm excited for that one too. Jake, I feel like I should do this for Valerie.
Oh, do the flop for the shark? Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys haven't. Yeah.
I'm glad you described that.
That weren't able to join us. That was
if you don't know, that's a shark flop from Jaws. That was just weird. So
that's awesome.
And Steph, tomorrow night we get to talk about comic books.
Yes.
Hey.
So I'm excited about that. So lots still going on. Still time to raise money. We are over $2,000 raised for the American Cancer Society, which is awesome. But let's keep it going through the weekend. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you, panelists, for being here. That was great. And we'll see you all later in like 10 minutes. 10 minutes on our YouTube channel. Come back and watch Sharks, Monsters, or Misunderstood. Thanks, guys.